Hello again, and welcome to another basics video. In this video I wanted to talk about climbing ropes. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cover all the bases pretty much. So this is, if you don't know anything about climbing ropes, you can come into this video and I will hopefully get you on the right track towards getting whatever rope you want for whatever you want to do. So starting off, there are two main species of climbing rope, or rope that's utilizing climbing. There's the dynamic rope, which is rope that's meant to be lead climbed with. It stretches in some cases up to 20% of its full rope length. Some manufacturers will say, but other manufacturers will say slightly less, but it will stretch enough to cushion your fall. And so that's the most common rope you find in climbing. You know, everyone pretty much will have a dynamic rope. There's also static rope. And static rope is rope that doesn't stretch, or will stretch up to maybe 3% of its amount. Here's my static rope right here. This is used also in climbing, but mainly in big wall stuff or hauling things, or it's just not as common because it doesn't have as many uses. So once you know which type of rope you're going to buy, and it is probably going to be dynamic. For those of you who are watching this video just researching ropes and all you want to do is rappel, then I would still recommend a dynamic rope. You could rappel with a static rope, there's nothing saying you can't, but most static ropes are fairly thick or fairly thin. And dealing with either of those, like other sides of the spectrum, like this one's on the thicker side, this one's on the very thin side. You would not want to rappel with this, but it can just be a headache and take a lot of experience, which if you're just trying to learn how to rappel and you're a beginner, it's not worth really going into all the heartache that it's going to cause. So you're best off just buying a dynamic rope, and then if you want to use it for something else, like if you get into climbing, then you have a dynamic rope already. You probably have noticed this right here. This is a piece of paper with a couple drawings on it. I have my gloves there to hold it down because I'm worried about the wind blowing it away. These are the rope classification symbols. So right here is a 1, a half sign, and then like a Venn diagram. These, all three of these mean different things, and you are definitely going to want to know what they mean if you're looking for a climbing rope. So the 1 means single rated rope. And then I have my example right here. This guy is a single rated rope. This is a black diamond. Is that 9 point? Oh, it's a 9.4. Look at that. I think I said it was a 9.6 in a different video. It's actually a 9.4. Well, anyway, it's a single rated rope. And if you look on it, if I can find it, there we go. It has that 1 on it. Let's see if I can get it to focus. It has a 1 on it. So that means that this rope can be used all on its own. Yeah. What happens is the way how they get these classifications is they have to pass a number of tests in the factory. With these types of ratings, it's a drop test. So I don't know the exact numbers, but a single rated rope is something like 7 or 9 drops in a certain environment that would cause a very high force on the rope. And the rope is expected to stretch and to not break under that high force. You drop it 9 times, and then it becomes a single rope. Now, there is also half ropes. Half ropes are something like this, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I'll tell you the diameter of this is 9.4, as we know. This diameter is 7.8, so it's quite a bit thinner. Can I put the two together? Actually, that doesn't look too much there, but 7.8 millimeters versus 9.4. So it's definitely a lot thinner. In person, they do look thinner. And the idea with half ropes is you climb with 2, because each rope is a half of a rope, so you climb with 2 to keep them together. Now, half ropes have the advantage of being able to clip a single rope into a piece of protection, and if you were to fall on this, then chances are it would catch you. And then you have another rope that you can clip into other pieces of protection. So if you have really wandery routes or really long pitches, I mainly use these guys for long pitches. And that would be a pitch that's probably about 40 meters, 35 to, or like, yeah, 40 meters or more. And these are both 60-meter ropes. But the big advantage of having half ropes is you can rappel 60 meters. So when you're rappelling off of big routes, for those of you who don't know, any multi-pitch climb, you rappel by folding the rope in half and rappelling from the middle of the rope down to the ends. And so a 60-meter rope, you can only go 30 meters. A 70-meter rope like this one, you can only go 35 meters. So the big advantage of these guys is that you can rappel full 60-meter pitches, or somewhere around that amount, and it helps get you down a lot faster. So that's the big advantage of climbing with half ropes as well as twin ropes. Now, half ropes and twin ropes, the idea is that you climb with 2 ropes still, but the big difference between half and twin is half ropes, you can clip one rope into one piece of protection and another rope into another piece of protection. With twin ropes, you have to clip them both together. And then if you fall, well, because if you fall, you need to have your force distributed between 2 ropes. A twin rope is not rated to catch lead falls on its own. And so that's the big thing between half and twin. The advantage of having ropes that you have to clip both into each piece is you can have thinner ropes. I think Idelrit a couple years ago came out with a twin rope that was like 6.9 mil. Why would you want to climb on that? Anyway, so ropes can be really thin, they can pack down really well, and then they can be harder to notice, pretty much. Now, there are ropes that there do exist, double rated ropes, they're called, and triple rated ropes. I will show you an example. These ropes right here are actually double rated for half and twin use. You see, so they have both the symbols. And what that means is you can use them as twins if you want, but if you want to just clip one, if you want to use them like half ropes, then feel free. They're rated for that. Me personally, when I climb with these things, I tend to just use them as twins. I've never really felt the need to use them as halves yet, but it all depends on what routes I climb. And the routes I usually climb with these things are just really long pitches, but they're really straightforward, so I can just keep on using them as twins. And they are a lot easier for the belayer, especially, to just keep on using them as twins. You know, you just treat them like one rope and your life is easier. I do have a rope right here. I believe this one is, yes, there we go. This one is triple rated. There we go. This is the Sterling Nano 9, so it's 9 millimeters, but it's rated as a single, half, and twin. And so the big advantage of that is you can use them in any situation. I pretty much only use this one on its own. When I climb, it's only with this rope. But if I so choose, and I've had friends who have ice climbed and they use 2 of this style of rope. If I wanted to, I can use them together or as twins or halves or whatever. I could use 2 of them. And so that's just a really nice option to have. These ropes do get more expensive though. The Sterling Nano 9 is a pretty expensive rope, but you get what you pay for. And it's a very nice rope and it'll last you a while. This rope is Black Diamond. I think Black Diamond makes some pretty good ropes, and they're also pretty cheap. So that's a bit of a score right there. Let's talk about dry treatment and bi-pattern, which these 2 ropes are a good example of it. Both these ropes are dry treated. What that means is, and every company sort of does this differently, but they've treated the sheath of the rope in some sort of material that helps waterproof it. And then Black Diamond is all about how the core of their rope is also waterproofed somehow. The same thing with Sterling is basically what dry treatment does is it helps keep the rope moisture free on the inside. Now, will the dry treatment last forever? Of course not. No dry treatment ever lasts forever. But it'll last a while, unless you're this is your main ice climbing rope and you live in the Canadian Rockies and it's like the worst season of snow and rain ever and your rope got frozen a couple times. It's going to wear out pretty fast, but generally the dry treatment lasts about as long as the ropes last. And also a good part about dry treatment is it will help keep dirt out of your rope. And what happens is particles of dirt can get in the sheath and ultimately lead to the unraveling and the death of the rope faster. So dry treatment kind of pays for itself with how much longer your rope will last, but so will keeping proper care of it. And using this nifty little device called a rope bag can help prolong the life of your rope pretty much indefinitely, as long as you are sort of diligent about it. And it also does depend on what type of climbing you're doing, but if you're sticking to single pitch sport climbing, you better have a rope bag. The bi pattern comes in with, you can see this one, how it has these lines right here, and then if I move the rope over, no more lines. So that means just halfway through, they've added in this new pattern. I think this is the only bi pattern rope I got right now. But that helps out with just knowing where the middle is for one thing, so it helps out with rappelling. As well as you can, if you're perhaps guiding with this rope and you have one client on one end and another client on the other, you can know which client is on which end. Or if you're just climbing in a group of 3, same thing. This rope right here is not bi-pattern, it's the same all the way around, but it does have a middle marker, and it's going to probably be impossible for me to find this. I'm just going to say it's impossible, but I'm still going to try it. It's going to be somewhere. If I find this, then I'll be awesome. I don't think I'm that awesome. No. Okay, well, it looks like what you think it would look. It's this little black mark that's just in roughly the middle of the rope. About the second or third time you use the rope, it gets stretched out anyway, and it's gone forever. But yeah, so that makes it a bit just slightly more annoying when I'm pulling the rope. With a bi-pattern rope, if I have one end through the chains, then I know what I'm looking for. This one, I'm just like staring down the rope until I find that middle marker. But overall, they get the same job done. As long as you have the middle of the rope marked, that's the important part. And yes, the dry treatment does add some cost, as well as the bi-pattern, as well as getting more ratings on it. So this rope is a prime example of how to sort of ramp up your rope costs, pretty much. This rope right here is a very interesting rope. It's kind of overlooked in a lot of climbing circles, except for one in particular. But this is an indoor rope. It's made for indoor climbing. It's 40 meters, made pretty much just for the gym. However, I use mine outside when I'm teaching skills or other various circumstances. They come in handy outside, but mainly this is for indoor climbing. Now, why would you buy a separate rope if you already have a good working rope of your own? Well, a lot of people see that and they're like, yeah, why would you? And there's no reason why you couldn't use this rope while you're leading in the gym. But generally when you're climbing in the gym, you take a lot more falls, and there's a lot of other sort of abrasion stuff happening to the rope. It can get sort of beaten up. The quick draws at the gym may not be the best. So it's good to have this rope to take all the abuse, and you save your nice rope for climbing outside, and where it can be subjected to all sorts of other abuses. So if you're planning on climbing a lot outside, like a lot is roughly about 9 or 10 times a season, that could be considered a decent amount, then it may be worth getting a gym rope, so that way you don't wear out your nice outdoor rope. And then if you're just going to climb outside a few times, then it probably doesn't matter. Also, if you just want to buy one rope, then it doesn't matter anyway. Just go for the outdoor rope, and then that way you can use it whenever you go outside, and then you have it for the gym. And it's maximum versatility. So I laid out these ropes in a certain order, which is sort of the order of which I would recommend buying them if you want to be an all-around climber. Which this is sort of what you need if you're going to be an all-around climber. Actually, maybe a little bit more, because there's just so much diversity in climbing. So one rope cannot get it all done. If you want to be if you want to trad climb down in Red Rocks, or if you want to ice climb up in the Rockies, you got to have more than one rope. If you want to climb Edith Cavell versus climbing on Charlotte Dome, you got to have more than one rope. So that's bottom line. If you haven't bought a rope yet, you don't have a rope, I recommend getting a 60 meter. If you're just going to be single pitch sport climbing with it, it can go ahead and you can let it be non-dry, you can let it not be bi-patterned, and buy a rope bag. Use that money that you saved by not getting those things, get a rope bag. You need that rope bag if you're going to single pitch sport climb. It helps everything prolong the life of your rope and means you don't have to coil it nearly as much. After you have your 60-meter rope, and if you're looking for another sort of rope to move on to, could be a single 70-meter rope. So single rated 70-meter rope doesn't have to be as fancy as this, but going from 60 to 70 is a pretty nice, it gives you a bit more freedom. A lot of people skip the 60 altogether and just buy a 70, and then that's their first rope. No problem with that. They do have 80-meter ropes that are available. That's really not worth getting. I mean, like, unless in the next 5 years or so there's this revolution of 80-meter ropes, really it's not necessary. So there are some crags like in Spain or other places on the cutting edge of sport climbing where you need an 80-meter rope, but chances are you don't live in that area. Just do your research. But if you want to just go right ahead and get a 70, then feel free. I have no quarrels about that, and who cares what I think anyway. If you are planning on climbing a lot more in the gym, you could get a gym rope. After your 60 and 70, if you want to move on to bigger and badder things, then you're going to probably want to move on to twin ropes or half ropes. I recommend these ones, actually, the Sterling Fusion Photons. I think that's what they are. Sterling ropes are really good, actually. These things have sort of been through a lot, and they're still holding together strong, so these are pretty great ropes. This one right here is also a Sterling, also been through a lot, and it's holding together really great. Other good companies are like Idelrid. This one's an Idelrid. Petzl. I don't own a Petzl rope, but they make some really good ropes, so you just want to get from a reputable company. Black Diamond's really good for making cheap ropes. I use this rope while guiding because it's nice and cheap, and it suits my needs, and actually it's sort of becoming almost my favorite rope. That's just how good it is. So Black Diamond makes some nice cheap ropes. Moving on from these ropes, I sort of have a specialty set of ropes right here, and so these are getting into specialized areas. On the left here is my static rope. I actually don't use this one, I use a different static rope, but this is like, you're going to get a static rope when you get into big wall climbing along with tons of other gear. So but this is very crucial for big wall climbing, and you would climb with a thicker rope, a thick single rope, something in the 10 range, 10 to even 11 millimeters, and then you have your static rope with you as well. So this is it's very specialty, but I have it to explain the difference between dynamic and static. This guy right here, this is a mountaineering rope. It's marketed as mountaineering. This one's also Black Diamond, I think. Yeah. There you go, let me get it in focus. And you can see it's a half, and twin. So it's a double rated rope. 7.9 mil, 30 meters. So what is this used for? Oh, you also saw it was dry treated. This is used for mountaineering. On the glacier, you gotta worry about ropes getting wet, so you need a dry treatment. 30 meters is often a good amount for 2 people on a non-technical alpine climb. If you want to move on to a more technical alpine climb, you would want to move into the 40 or 50 range. As well as if you're moving in with 3 people on a team, 30 meters is kind of small. You're going to want something a bit bigger. I recently did Rainier, and I just brought one of these things. I also brought one of these when I did Shuckson, when there was 3 of us, and we just had some extra rope between us. That's fine. We had more rope to rig for glacier rescue, or crevasse rescue. And this is everything that is, only it's twice as long, so it's twice as useful? Not really. But having a 50-meter rope wouldn't be bad too for if you want to get into any sort of mountaineering. But a 30-meter is nice as well. If I'm doing the Coleman Deming on Baker with a friend who is just as competent as me, we're probably just going to bring this thing and enjoy walking up to the summit. This right here is kind of interesting. This is a 65-meter static Tagline. How much, what is this guy? 6 millimeters. 65 meters static. You can see it right there. So you'll notice how it doesn't have the 1/2 or Venn diagram symbol, but that's because it's a static rope. Those are meant for dynamic ropes. Idea of a Tagline is you bring it up let's say we have our main lead line right here, this guy, and we climb up and we're doing El Sendero Luminoso down in El Puchero Chico, which is 512D. We may fall once or twice on it, or at least be pushed to our max. If we were to climb that really long route with a backpack, it would just make life a bit harder. So what we can do is, we have that tied to the front of our harness, you know, in our power points. We have this attached to the back of our harness on our haul loop, and we just trail this up behind us, you know, like the rope right there. We don't clip it to anything. When we get to the top of the pitch, we hook ourselves in, and then we can use this thing to just pull a backpack up. So that way now it's at the next station, and our follower or our friend can climb the pitch without the backpack as well, and everyone's happy. So that's a very specialty sort of circumstance. You're going to want to wait to get that for some sort of real reason. As well as it's kind of nice because you could do 60-meter rappels by setting up this as a in a tagline setup with a pull cord. And what's it called? Some sort of, it has a, I think it's called the Ramschner hitch that you use. I can show that in a later video. You can comment below if you want to see that happen. But if some people like to bring this along, even if they have twin ropes, because if a rock falls on one of these and core shots it, you can again use the tagline setup, not totally be stuck with whatever. So those are that's all the setup. Again, I guess in the process of buying ropes, I would start with a 60, then a 70, and get a gym rope, or like, let's skip the gym rope and go straight to the twins, and then that amount will be just fine. I mean, if you want to just stick with the 172, then feel free, but you will be limited if you want to get into bigger and better things. Well, I hope this clears up a little bit about ropes. If you have any questions, you can always ask or write in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, then you can like and hit the subscribe button. I have plenty more videos planned, not just about educational videos like this, but I also want to do some adventure videos. I just need to actually start filming while I'm on adventures. But anyway, if you have any videos you want to see, or any other sort of videos about climbing or mountaineering or hiking, backpacking, anything like that, then send me a comment and then I'll try to get on that. And have a nice day, and thank you for watching.